If you're doing everything right, eating clean, cutting back on junk, trying to be disciplined, and yet your belly still feels soft, your waistline won't budge, and your morning blood sugar keeps coming back higher than it should, this might be the most important video you watch this year. Because what if the problem isn't that you're doing too little, but that one part of your so-called healthy diet is quietly working against you every single day, and almost nobody is talking about it? By the end of this video, you're going to understand why so many people who eat healthy still struggle with stubborn belly fat and elevated fasting glucose, what's actually happening inside your liver while you sleep, and how to reverse it without extreme dieting, carb fear, or punishing workouts. This isn't about willpower, it's about physiology, and once you see this clearly, you can't unsee it. But before we get to the solution, you need to understand why your body is responding the way it is right now. Here's the frustrating pattern I see over and over again. Someone cleans up their diet. They stop eating fast food. They cut sugar. Maybe they even cut carbs. They lose weight in their face, arms, and legs. Friends tell them they look leaner. The scale might even go down. But the belly doesn't change. Or worse, their fasting blood sugar stays stubbornly high even though dinner was perfect. And that's when people start blaming themselves. They think they're broken, or that this is just aging, or genetics. But what's really happening has very little to do with discipline and everything to do with where fat is stored and how your liver is responding to your diet. The fat most people worry about is the kind they can pinch under the skin. That's subcutaneous fat. But the fat that drives metabolic problems is different. It's visceral fat. This fat sits deep inside your abdomen, wrapped around your liver, pancreas, and intestines. You can't grab it. You can't see it directly. But metabolically, it's incredibly powerful. Visceral fat behaves less like storage and more like an active organ. It releases inflammatory signals, stress hormones, and fat particles into your bloodstream day and night. And the closer it sits to your liver, the more damage it can do. Your liver plays a central role in blood sugar control. All night long, while you sleep, your liver releases small amounts of glucose to keep your brain and nervous system alive. That's normal. In a healthy, insulin-sensitive body, insulin acts like a gentle brake. As glucose rises, insulin tells the liver to slow down. But when visceral fat and liver fat build up, that signal gets distorted. Fat inside liver cells interferes with insulin signaling, and the liver keeps releasing glucose even when your body doesn't need it. That's why so many people wake up with high fasting blood sugar despite eating well the night before. Now here's where things get really interesting. Most people assume that if blood sugar is high, carbohydrates must be the problem. So they cut carbs, they eat low carb or keto, and sometimes, initially, blood sugar improves. But for a huge number of people, especially over time, fasting glucose stays elevated. And belly fat doesn't go away. That's because carbohydrates aren't the root cause of visceral fat accumulation. The real driver, in many cases, is something people don't associate with blood sugar at all. Let's talk about fat type. In controlled human studies, researchers have overfed people the same number of calories, but from different kinds of fat. One group consumed more saturated fat, the other consumed more polyunsaturated fat. Both groups gained similar weight, but only the saturated fat group rapidly accumulated visceral fat and liver fat. As liver fat increased, insulin became less effective at shutting down glucose production, especially overnight. The group eating more unsaturated fat maintained better insulin sensitivity, even at the same calorie intake. Think about what that means. It wasn't calories, it wasn't carbs, it wasn't body weight. It was where the fat ended up and how it affected liver signaling. This is why someone can eat clean, hit their calorie targets, avoid sugar, and still wake up with high blood sugar and stubborn belly fat. Their internal environment is telling the liver to stay stuck in glucose overproduction mode. And here's the part that surprises people the most. Many of the foods we associate with being healthy are also very high in saturated fat. Things like butter-heavy cooking, large amounts of cheese, cream-based sauces, fatty cuts of meat, coconut oil, and certain processed low-carb foods. None of these are inherently evil, but when they make up a large portion of daily calories, especially in someone who is already insulin resistant, they can quietly drive liver fat accumulation. This doesn't mean you have to eat less, and it doesn't mean you have to starve yourself. It means you have to change what's filling your plate. When saturated fat intake drops, the liver finally gets a break. Insulin signaling begins to recover. And visceral fat, which is actually one of the most responsive fat depots in the body, starts to shrink, often faster than subcutaneous fat. Another mistake people make is assuming that more intensity equals better results. They push harder workouts, more HIIT, more stress. But, visceral fat responds best to consistent, low-stress metabolic signals. Moderate, steady movement like brisk walking, cycling, swimming, or using the elliptical at a pace where you can still talk sends a very different message to the body than all-out training. 30 to 45 minutes, 4 to 5 days per week, is incredibly powerful. Even a 10 to 15-minute walk after dinner can significantly reduce overnight glucose release from the liver. Timing matters too, not extreme fasting, just gentle time-restricted eating. Finishing dinner earlier and giving your liver a longer overnight break allows insulin levels to fall and fat oxidation to increase. You're not doing this to eat less. You're doing it to let your liver clock out so it can clean up stored fat instead of constantly processing incoming fuel. Clinical studies show improvements in insulin sensitivity and fasting blood sugar, even without calorie reduction when eating is shifted earlier. Fiber plays a role here as well, but not in the way most people think. Fiber isn't magic on its own. Its real power comes from what it replaces. When meals are built around beans, lentils, whole grains, fruits, vegetables, and other fiber-rich foods, saturated fat intake naturally drops. Fiber slows glucose absorption, supports gut health, and lowers calorie density so liver fat can decrease without hunger. The context matters. Fiber works best as part of a lower saturated fat dietary pattern, not sprinkled on top of a high-fat diet. When these pieces come together, something really remarkable happens. Visceral fat actually begins to shrink. Liver glucose output drops. Fasting blood sugar improves. And, insulin sensitivity increases. Often within just a few weeks, not months. And that's exactly why it's so important to stop blaming yourself and start paying attention to the internal signals you're sending your body every single day. Food and movement, they do most of the heavy lifting, but there are some tools that can support the process. One of the most studied is berberine. Berberine helps improve insulin sensitivity in the liver, reduces excess glucose release overnight, and, honestly, supports healthier energy metabolism. It doesn't replace lifestyle changes, but it really can amplify their effects. If you're on blood sugar medication, always talk with your clinician first, because combining therapies can sometimes require adjustment. Here's what I want you to take away from all of this. You don't need extreme diets. You don't need to fear carbohydrates. And you absolutely don't need to accept stubborn belly fat or high fasting blood sugar as just inevitable. When you change the internal environment, your body does respond. And visceral fat, despite its reputation, is actually not stubborn. It's responsive when you target the right levers. If this explanation helped you understand your body in a new way, you're definitely going to want to stick around. Because this channel is all about breaking down metabolic health in a way that actually makes sense and, works in real life. If you want practical strategies, meal ideas, and science-backed guidance that helps you feel better and take control of your health, make sure you subscribe. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and I'll see you in the next video.